Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Cowgill, Jeff Charles, and Graham Noble. And this is the Conservative Vibe, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. Americans are struggling, and the pain at the pump is only getting worse. So where's the Biden bunch? They appear to be playing an intense game of point and blame instead of minding the country. These disastrous decisions are deliberate and have put many U.S. energy producers on hold. With lightning speed, we've gone from energy independence to begging for crude. This has to be by design, or else it's rank incompetence. It does appear that today's energy crisis is one that Mr. Biden is orchestrating for a progressive green agenda. Andrew Moran, you wrote a great analysis on what you refer to as Green-mageddon. Extrapolate, please.
Yeah, it's so simply that it's this green fetish that's maintained by the president and the Democrats that's exacerbated the country's energy woes. Now, it's not really surprising if you watch the 2020 Republican primaries, or the Democratic primaries. The whole time was that Biden was saying he wants to end fossil fuels, he wants to end the oil and gas industry, he wants to stop producing oil. So the latest announcements pretty much confirmed this. His administration announced that they were going to cancel oil and gas leases in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the one in Alaska is probably the far more interesting one, because his reasoning, or the administration's reasoning, was that there wasn't enough industry interest in that area for drilling. But they pretty much knew that, because the main problem whenever anyone wants to develop Alaska, or the specific region of Alaska, is they say it's the environment. And all these environmentalists, all these green zealots, they create all these litigation headaches. They say you're going to kill the beluga whale. They start complaining all the time about everything, and it's very costly for these oil and gas companies. So these companies think, why the heck bother should I drill in the area if all I'm going to have is just these legal headaches for drilling? And I guarantee you, in the coming weeks, heading into the midterm elections, they're going to say, "Oh, the oil and gas industry is sitting on 9,000 leases. Why are they drilling?" The problem is the exact same issue. A lot of the oil and gas companies, they can't properly drill because of the whole environmental assessments, the pre-development environmental assessments, the litigation, and then the red tape. And then another issue that's not often talked about is the fact that it's very hard for a lot of oil and gas companies to attract new capital, because a lot of these companies, the whole fossil fuel industry is now a dirty word. Investors don't want to put into it. They want to go into this whole ESG investing and sustainable investing and green and solar panels and windmills. So that's why. So that's the Green-mageddon.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm wondering, can we just muscle our way into forcing the American people to go green? Stop driving a car. Everybody take the subway. Of course, in New York, that means you get pushed off the platform. It seems like we're trying to change the culture by virtue of just muscling through and forcing people to pay $5 a gallon for gasoline.
Yeah, it's either that or you can just run out and get a Tesla. I mean, this is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And they even suggest that, just go out and get a Tesla. I'm like, okay, I'll go get a Tesla.
Can everybody afford a Tesla? I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, they can't. No. I mean, gas is out of control. I went to fill up my car the other day. I gave him my card. The guy gave me back a loan application to finance the gas. So it's crazy out there. There's no excuse for this. And the thing is, it's a 10-year-old can figure this out. Yes, going green might be a good idea. I'm all for the environment, all that good stuff. It's going to take us decades before we get to the point to where we can not rely on fossil fuels to drive and to have transportation. So let's work towards that. But in the meantime, let's drill and drill and drill until we get to that point. I just saw the entire problem just now. If I can figure this out, if a 10-year-old can figure this out, the Biden administration can figure this out. So I'm with you, Lisa. This is not incompetence. This is being done deliberately, maybe to make us cry out for more green energy. I don't know what they're trying to do, but Biden is having his, let them eat cake moment. But instead it's, let them pay $1 million at the tank.
Yeah, and the problem we have, Sarah, is that you've got a situation where everybody is to blame, but the Biden administration. I remember, back in the day, Democrats like Harry S. Truman, where the buck stops here, right? Well, the buck with Biden seems to stop with Putin, the gasoline companies, everybody else is at fault, and he had nothing to do with this.
He's a point and blame kind of guy. And I'm not even sure he knows he's pointing and blaming. That's another problem with this administration. And by the way, I have to point out that Andrew said Biden and fetish in the same sentence, and it took me a while to get over that. So, and then I also want to nominate Jeff Charles for president. I live in the middle of the country, and people here, number one, we're a lot of farming and agriculture, and we're a lot of ranching and cattle, and that's the industry around here. You think they can afford diesel to get into the field, to get out of the field? They're hurting. And if they don't make money, you guys don't eat on the East Coast or in Florida or in Texas. Well, Texas will, but the rest of us kind of are the breadbasket for a lot of this country. And we can't afford gas. And that's what I hear the most in the Midwest. Gas, pain at the pump, pain at the pump.
Andrew, you're a pretty environmentally Graham, you're a pretty environmentally conscious guy. Yeah, I'm sure you are too, Andrew. No,
not really.
But I know you are, Graham. But how does this strike you? Just ram this stuff down our throat and force Americans to pay ridiculous prices. I mean, just 2 years ago, it was $2 a gallon. I remember driving through Florida and saying to my husband, Tim, look, it's like $1.99, $1.98, $1.87.
Well, as someone who actually is environmentally conscious, and I try to do my bit to, recycle and to use sustainable materials, and I do all of that kind of stuff, absolutely. And what annoys me, of course, is that this whole green agenda is not really about saving the environment. That's nonsense. The green agenda is about taking control of the entire economy. But here's the thing.
Well, wait, let me ask you, is it taking control of the entire economy, or is it taking control of the people? Isn't that the end game?
That's funny you should say that, Lisa, because I was just about to make that very point, is that it's not so much about pushing us all into buying electric cars or all of that kind of stuff, or bringing down the fossil fuel industry. And of course, that's all part of it. Absolutely, that's true. But the deeper agenda here is controlling people and taking away their freedom, because after all, if you make it so that a very large number of Americans can barely afford to drive their cars anywhere because they just can't afford to put gas in the tank, what are you doing? You are depriving them of their freedom. You are controlling them. You're almost, it's almost like you're keeping them prisoner in their own homes. So you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head there, Lisa, with that one.
Andrew, you're our economic guru, but this kind of thing, this whole green agenda really hurts the poor people. It really hurts those on fixed incomes, really hurts the Social Security people, the veterans. Not to mention everybody's 401k is now a 301k.
Well, unless you bought energy stocks, as I told everyone a long time ago. But I'm going to touch your point for 1 second, but I also want to touch upon what Jeff said. He said it's going to take decades for the whole green energy to succeed. The problem is that anyone who's serious understands that the whole world is not going to rely on green energy for its energy needs. It's not going to rely on hydrogen. It's not going to rely on solar panels and windmills. It's never going to happen. Even the IEA, they came out a couple of months ago and they said that, okay, we think that fossil fuels are still going to represent about at least 1/3 of all energy consumption. Now, to touch upon your point, Lisa, yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, a lot of people are at fixed incomes and they can't handle this volatility, because it's not only gasoline that's so high; it's everything else that's throughout the economy. As Sarah mentioned, you have higher gas prices, and then we have higher gas prices. It costs more to produce food, costs more to transport that food. Everything is up across the board, and it's not just one specific thing that Biden thought it was going to be. And that's why I think he doubled down his whole green energy agenda during the campaign, because he never had the foresight to see the problems festering in the whole energy crisis that happened not only in the United States, but across the globe.
Yeah, and Sarah, you make a fair point. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I don't believe the tractors run on solar power. They run on diesel. So if the farmer out by you is, on the back 40 with his tractor, and he's paying double what he was paying, just a couple of years ago, you better bet we're going to be charged more for our food.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, where else are they going to take it? They can't just lose it. lose the family farm because they want to make sure the costs are okay. Everything is going to go up. Everything has got to go up to sustain the gas prices. And I just want to make one random point for the greenies who think, oh, well, we're renewable and sustainable. Windmills aren't recyclable. Guess what happens to them when they're done and out of service? They go to the landfill. So really, I mean, if they're going to come up with this big sustainable package of beauty and love for all of us, well, then they better start with some freaking windmills and do them better. I just
also, if I add one random fact too, is that if you look at the gas prices and diesel prices, the gap has never been higher. That the gap is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Refineries buy $100 a barrel, and they charge $150 to sell it back to companies or consumers. So this whole diesel, I mean, I think that's the biggest story more than gas prices, how high that is skyrocketing and how that affects industry, transportation, freight, farming, everything.
There's one person who can solve this for us, though, ladies and gentlemen. According to Eric Swalwell, his 4-year-old boy is very concerned about gun violence at the moment. So that means he is a deep thinker. I'm sure once he's solved the gun issue, he can move on to getting us out of our environmental problems.
I just want to know if that's the child that he had with his wife or with a Chinese spy.
Oh, hi-oh.
Right. Well, I'm sort of wondering how far will Americans allow the green push before they shove back? And will that shove occur at the polls in November? Could be fun. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel, where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Join us in the member zone, just $17.76 for the year. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank DiOrio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.